Well, Victoria has been declared a state of disaster and Melbourne is now under stage 4 restrictions. There is a daily curfew of 8 p.m. Residents can't go any further than 5 kilometres from their home, and the new measures are set to be heavily enforced by police and Defence Force members.
Yeah, we are waiting for Daniel Anders to do a press conference very soon, but let's get today's take on this with Shelley Horton from 9 Honey and 9 reporter Seb Costello, who's at Triple M Melbourne. Seb, you are in stage 4, you're in Melbourne at the moment. 6 weeks is now the new reality there. You've been on air this morning, you've been talking to people there. Tell us, what are people feeling down in Melbourne?
Totally surreal to have a curfew where you can't leave your house. People have gone to the history books and they found that Melbourne didn't have a curfew during the Second World War. That's just how unprecedented this is, and I guess the threat that authorities feel. Something that's been brought up, which is quite interesting though, is lawyers have been through the Act and looked at the difference between state of emergency and state of disaster. And actually, there is very little difference. There's some suggesting that the Premier made that announcement for impact more than having an actual difference on the way the pandemic's being managed.
That's interesting.
What are the callers in Melbourne saying to you this morning? How are people out there feeling?
We spoke to a heartbroken woman this morning on Triple M's Hot Breakfast whose mother had passed to COVID. Obviously, she was going through some of her darkest days, and her message was very clear. And this goes out to people across the country this morning. The rules are there for a reason, to save lives and to keep people safe. And if she could have one comment in her mother's memory, it was just to encourage people to wear their masks, to only go out when absolutely necessary, and to follow the curfew.
And that's the message, isn't it, Shelley, that, you know, people in New South Wales have been urged over the weekend to start wearing their masks where you can't social distance, you know, public transport, supermarkets. But there's sort of like asking people of their better nature to sort of do things instead of making it mandatory, I think, you know, won't help things unless we make it mandatory.
I've got no problem with it being mandatory. I'm masking up as often as possible, even if I am social distancing. So I really think that what we need to do is remember that not only is this protecting ourselves and protecting others, but it's a visual remember of an invisible threat. So it's going to remind people to social distance. It's going to remind people that it's important to follow the rules. And I've actually spoken to a couple of doctors, because people who are anti-maskers are saying, oh, it's too restrictive and I don't like it on my face. And they've actually suggested that this is the time in other states besides Victoria that you start wearing a mask at home for 10 minutes to get yourself used to it, and then try it again, and then try it again, because even people with, you know, terrible lung illnesses, they can still wear masks. So our doctors and everyone else says we need to get on board.
Over in the UK, meantime, people over the age of 50 could be forced to stay at home to stop the potential second wave. So here, under the first round of lockdowns, people over 70 were encouraged to stay home and self-isolate. But 50, well, that's an altogether different thing, isn't it? What do you think of those measures? A bit too harsh?
Well, in my view, the smartest thing to do from the start would have been to isolate the elderly, isolate the vulnerable, and then for those of us who could plough on, to do that. I mean, if 50 is the place where you're putting it, I think that is probably a bit young. Clearly, the medical evidence shows us that the vulnerability to COVID kicks in a bit later than that. It's post-70, and that's why our medical experts recommended that. But yeah, if you had your time again, you certainly would think of doing things a smarter way.
Shelley, what do you think?
Look, 50 shocked me, to be honest, because I was like, oh my goodness, my husband's over 50. I'm nearly 50. So I was kind of shocked by it. But then I read a bit more about it, and it was more people who were 50 that had other health factors that put them at risk. So it was obesity, which is a lot of people, but diabetes, lung disorders, all of that sort of thing. So, you know what? We have got so many people dying. I think that we just have to not fight against this stuff and just go, what we have to do, we have to do. Let's just knuckle down and mask up.
Can I just say quickly before we go to an ad break, your mask seemed very emo to me. Can we just have a look at it again?
Oh, it's Day of the Dead. It's like, I got married in Mexico, so I quite like it.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. I like it.
Very,
Hey?
It's fashion.
Nothing,
is it? It's scary.
Nothing you do is boring, Shelley Horton. That's
I know,
love you.
I've made people laugh at supermarkets with it, so it's all right.
Okay, cool.
We all need a laugh. Hey guys, stay with us, because when we come back after the break, wedding guest application. The bride forcing family and friends to write an essay to get on the list.
And cook clean, but do not show emotion. What one influencer is demanding from their next assistant. That is next.
All right, now a bride has been slammed for requesting her guests write a 500-word essay on why they want to attend the wedding. Due to COVID, she was forced to cull her list, so her friends and family are now having to apply to get an invitation.
Shelley Horton and Seb Costello are still here. I just had to take that in for a second because, Seb, guests must supply, wait for it, two 250-word essays, one answering why they want to attend and another one saying what it will mean for them to attend. It's a competition, Seb.
It certainly is. Look, here in Victoria, weddings are completely off the agenda. They can't happen at the moment, full stop, unless you've got a good reason. So I first met my wife back in 2005, DC. We didn't get married until the 18th of January 2019. So all I'm saying when it comes to weddings is I'm glad I didn't wait 2 years longer and call the whole thing off, because Bree would have killed me. In terms of asking people to give a 250-word essay, I am more than happy to avoid a wedding going forward. So I have no problem with this policy from the bride.
Well, perhaps, Shelley, the bride should be sending a 500-word essay to all the people who aren't invited, explaining why. Just save everyone time.
Seriously, like, I've never heard of a more entitled way of trying to cull your guests. I think I'd like to send her my application where we just say, nah, not going to do it.
Yeah, nah.
Sorry. And you know what? Because of COVID, why don't you just get, married at a registry and have the party when it's safe for everyone in a couple of years' time?
I know. Look, bless them trying to get married still. It's a quaint idea. But also making news this morning, an LA YouTube influencer, because that's what we report on here, has been slammed after advertising for a personal assistant. By the way, apparently a great career. This job requirement, the candidates must be able to cook, clean, be available 24/7 and never show emotions, just like Jarvis or, Batman, one of those sort of things. Alfred. Shelley, it's advertised as part-time, but they've got to be on call 24/7? I don't get it.
It's very difficult for me to respond to this without emotion because this is everything that's wrong with influencers. Oh my God, I just want to throttle these people. They just think that they are so special when they're really not. This breaks so many workplace laws. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I hope that they end up finding out who this influencer is and they lose all of their brands.
I don't know, a lot of people are looking for work at the moment, though, Seb.
Oh, well, look, I don't want anybody to be out of work at the moment, but if there are certain jobs that won't come back after the pandemic, can social media influencer be one of them that we just never see from and never hear from again? I'd be totally cool with that.
If only they're, maybe if they're influencing us to wear more masks, that's the only thing that you could be influencing at the moment.
Influencing us to talk about them, so I think we've been done by the influencer.
They got us again.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you both, Seb. You stay safe down there, mate. Shelley, see you soon.
Great to chat to you both.
Going into 6 weeks of hard lockdown now with my beautiful wife, Bree, and the fact that we're spending 6 weeks together 24/7 has nothing to do with the fact I'm calling her beautiful.
You might want to pick up a bunch of flowers if that's possible on the way home too. Good luck to you, Seb. We really, really feel for everyone in Victoria this morning. We're really glad you could come and talk to us about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shelley.
Take care. Coming up on Today Extra this morning...